Karla Schafer, designer for Auntie Beads, and I'll be demonstrating metal stamping. I'm going to be using 3mm lowercase letter punches. I'm also going to be using a brass head mallet. I'm going to be using a thumb saver to hold my stamps in place. I'm also going to be using a bench block and the rubber bench block by Impress Art to muffle the sound. I'm also going to be using Impress Art's straight tape. I'm going to be using a blank from Impress Art. This is the River Stone Soft Strike blank, and we'll also need a Sharpie. And for the finished product, I'm going to be using ball chain, a charm, a connector, and also a bead drop. So you will also need a pair of nipper tools and a couple of pairs of pliers. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is show you the letter punches I'm going to be using. These are from BeadSmith. This is a 3mm courier lowercase, and the phrase that I've decided to stamp on this I am going to do in lowercase, and I'm just going to stamp Take Flight. And I wanted to show you how these are organized in the thing, and it's best that when you remove a letter, that as soon as you're done with it, you put it right back in so that you don't confuse them, because sometimes it may be kind of hard to see on the end what the letter is. So I'm going to take out the T, and first thing I'm going to do actually is going to tape down my blank, and this tape, which is the Impress Art straight tape or stamp straight tape, does a couple of things. First of all, it holds your blank on the board, on the block, and will also help you when you're doing your letters. So I'm going to just kind of position it up in the upper part of my blank. And then I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to mark where I want my letters to be. So I'm going to spell take. So I'm just going to mark 4 slashes. Of course, they won't be exact necessarily. And I think some of the beauty of stamping is that it's not everything is just quite precise, or at least it's not when I'm doing it. This is, I call it a thumb saver, but what this does is it holds the stamp in place, and it also keeps you from worrying about smashing your fingers. And so I've placed my letter T in the tool, and I've screwed it in so it's nice and tight. And then what you want to do is make sure that you've got this positioned correctly. And I may want to bring up my blank just a little bit so I have more room. Just a matter of positioning. I tell you, unless you're really precise and good at this, it's not going to be quite straight, but I think that's kind of part of the beauty of it. So I've got this position. What you want to do is take your punch, and you just kind of want to feel the edge of the tape. And I'm at my first mark, and I'm going to just hold this in place and take my hammer and strike. It only takes one strike, and it doesn't even take a real hard one with this. And I'm going to remove this. I'm going to put it back in its slot. And then I'm going to grab the A. And the place you always want to remember so that you have your letter in the correct spacing, or that's facing correctly, is to use the BeadSmith always in front. That will ensure your letter placement. Again, just kind of feel the edge. Take your hammer and strike. And again, put this back and choose your next letter. I have found on the K, I kind of let it drop a little bit, but I have found on the G and the F's that I kind of sometimes might rearrange my tape a little bit, or actually strike on the tape. So now I've got my E, and place it. And put this back. Okay, now if I remove this and show you what our take looks like. Like I said, I got a little off, but that's not going to bother me. And then I'm going to add flat down here at the end. So what I'm going to do with my tape again is either take another piece of tape. You can actually reuse these if you want. You can just turn it upside down. I'm going to put it back on my block here. And I'm going to put flight below take. So I'm going to drop it down. So I have plenty of room. I'm going to take my pen again and just make sure that I've got enough room. And really basically what this is just helping you make sure you allow yourself enough room to put each of the stamps. So I'm going to take my F. Just make sure this is nice and secure. Doesn't really matter how high up or where you want it. Really, it's more of a comfort level for you. Place this punch over the stamp. And again. It goes really pretty quickly once you get yourself organized. You know what you're going to spell and do. I'm always more worried about misspelling my words than positioning. Now see on the G, see how it sits up high? I could have dropped it down a little bit onto the tape, but I went ahead and left it as it was. And as you do these a couple of times, you'll kind of get your own feel for what you want it to look like. And then one more. Okay. All right, now we finished our stamping. And I know it's hard to see right now, but the next trick we'll do is take our Sharpie and rub it over the letters and then polish it off. Now that we've got our blank stamped and we want to add a little color to this, I'm going to be using just a black Sharpie and to color this in. However, I bought a pack of Sharpies with all different colors, and you can, so that you can change the color of what this stamping is going to take on. In this case, like I said, I'm just going to use the black, but I've used blue and I've used red. I've even used a purple. So what I'm going to do is just going to rub my marker all over the front here, just all over my script. What happens is it's going to get down into the stamping area, and the raised areas we're going to wipe off. And I'm going to mark myself. Take a paper towel and wipe it off. Most of it off. As you can see, it's taken on the color. But I also have a little bit of the residue left on the blank itself. So now I'm going to just take a jewelry polishing cloth and get the rest of that off. Just any jewelry polishing cloth will work. And just going to work it till I get all that off of that excess off. And we have many different blanks that different sizes and circles, squares that you can do. So we also have larger ones where you can actually say a little more. And I will have some projects that I've done to show you how all these work. So now that we've got the blank and it's all filled in, And as I said, it's not quite precise, but to me that's part of the charm. If you're a little more, you know, perfectionist at it, then this will take some practice to get everything just completely in line. Now we're ready to assemble our necklace. In this case, since I did take flat, I'm going to use a wing charm. I'm also using Swarovski pearl drop and some 3mm ball chain, and obviously a connector for the ball chain. So the only thing I need to do now is add a jump ring to the blank, and you want to be sure and get jump rings large enough to fit over the ball chain. This, I believe, is a 8mm, maybe even a 10. I will list it in my supplies. So I'm just going to add I went ahead and dropped my pearl on a head pin. I'm going to slide that on. And I'm going to add my charm. And then my little stamp. And then you're in. Stamping these blanks makes it just so much fun to make little inspirational quotes and phrases. And the stamps come in different sizes and shapes. And they're all available on auntiesbeads.com. And I just wanted to show you our finished stamped piece. Now that you know some basics on how to stamp, you can make your own stamped jewelry pieces.